I'm the most interested in one little phrase in everything you just said, and that's that you're satisfied with a 9-3 season. So if you're representing the Michigan fan base, let's say you're obviously not representing everyone. Everyone's different
Hmm.
with what the expectations are. So you still haven't gotten to a place where it's like we got to get to a playoff, we got to win the Big Ten championship, or this season's not acceptable.
Well, eh,
I'm not saying
and
that's right or wrong. I'm just curious.
can you kind of broke off for a second, Mark? For me, can you repeat that?
Well, basically, so you have not gotten to a place as a Michigan fan, considering what you experienced last year and what the history of the program is and the resources and everything else, that a conference championship slash playoff season is not the standard or bust, or it's a disappointment, unacceptable season.
No, I can't say I'm there, and part of it is due to that little bit of grace that Harbaugh gets for finally getting it done last year, right? I don't think that we've had the consistent results of that like an Ohio State has had, where I can expect that to be the norm going forward, right? Last year was an anomaly, so it's like, okay, wow, this is incredible, but I need to see a consistent um, uh, results like that to be like, okay, either you get there or it's a failure. Right now, that's what I would like. And by all means, I'm not saying that you can go 7-5, but I'm trying to give you some grace, understanding of, you don't have the consistency of that. You're losing guys, and you lose guys, you bring in other guys, and they're ready to go like a machine, like Ohio State has been, like Alabama has been, right? Where you can deal with that turnover, personnel, and coaching staff wise, and it doesn't really affect the overall success of the team. So I'm trying to be fair. Now, my competitive spirit expects more, but I'm trying to be fair given those factors.
Okay. Because I'm going to say something, and Des can tell me if I'm right or I'm wrong. Because you got an Alabama rep here, and you got an Ohio State rep here, and there are obvious similarities between the two, but there are some differences too. Because if Nick Saban goes 9-3 this year, Alabama fans will be stunned, shocked, disappointed, livid. The unreasonable ones will be livid and say ridiculous things about Nick Saban. But Nick Saban's in a completely different category, off by himself. He can go 9-3. Obviously, he's untouchable and should be. Ryan Day has a great record at Ohio State, but he's eons away from Nick Saban. If he goes 9-3, I'm not saying Ohio State's going to fire him. I don't think they would. But if he goes 9-3, most of the fan base will want him fired.
But that's below your standard, Mark. And that's a standard that has been set, from Tressel to Meyer, So
Sure.
now he's not upholding that standard. Now I'm not like my good friend, over there, Desmond, who believes that Urban Meyer underachieved at Ohio State. That's a conversation for another day. Um,
That'll be a good one.
yeah, he set a stand. I mean, Urban Meyer and Tressel both won national titles, multiple Big Ten titles. Like Ryan Day has to win a national title, eventually, like he does, like to uphold that standard. So if Ohio State goes, not for one, they lost to Michigan last year, right? Didn't win the Big Ten, which is a big no-no, and they go out and go 9-3 this upcoming season. Yes, he will be on the hot seat in the mind of some fans, because it's like, hold on a second, you're not doing something that these previous coaches have done. So now we have a problem. As opposed to Harbaugh, it's like, well, you just did something that we haven't seen here in Big Ten, last Big Ten I think was '04, so that was about 18 years ago. So there's a little bit of grace because you've kind of broken through a little bit. Now let's see if you can sustain it, and then we'll see who you really are. So I think it's a totally different type situation.
Sure. Yeah, the last two Ohio State coaches did not get fired. Urban Meyer, Jim Tressel. Well, Jim Tressel got fired, but not for on the field issues. So the last Ohio State coach that got fired had lost two straight against Michigan, and he went 8-3, and he got fired. John Cooper
It's
went 8 and
unique.
3 and got fired, and he was only a season removed from finishing number 2 in the country.
Well, I think, and I don't think Ryan Day would be fired. I'm sure there are some Ohio State fans that would say that if they went 9-3 this year. I think the issue would be the trend for Ryan Day. And granted, I know that just a couple years ago they were in the national championship. They had some injuries, but essentially Ohio State didn't show well. It looked like there was a very big gap, the Mac Jones, Alabama year versus Justin Fields. And then you have the year of last year where you didn't win the Big Ten. You lost to, lost to Oregon, which I don't think that was, well, speaking for not an Ohio State fan, I don't think that was a huge deal because you had, first year starting quarterback. I think that was only week 2 or week 3. But then you turn around and you lose to Michigan, which, like Dre said, is a no-no. I mean, it's been, Urban Meyer had 7 straight years. Ryan Day had, 2 straight years? So was that 9 straight between them? And then, you're the guy that breaks the streak. You never want to have that. And then to turn around and go 9-3 after that, it would seem as if the trend is trending down, even if that's not the case. But I think that would be the tough part with Ryan Day, because I would look at this year for Ohio State and say although they are losing a lot, especially the offensive weapons, you're talking about a Heisman finalist who's a returning starting quarterback, and you've got a receiver who just broke, historic Rose Bowl records coming back as well. Like I get it, that's only 2 people, but also too, yeah. So there's plenty there where you could point to and say, I mean, even if your offense isn't clicking, having C.J. Stroud, Smith and Jigba, and Henderson, that's enough to win 90% of Big Ten games. Like, just leaning on those 3 guys, and also with the Ohio State roster around them, that's enough to win you, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 Big Ten games. So really you have to get up for Michigan, your rival, which Ohio State has traditionally done. So I think that would be the tough part for Day. I think he'd be fine. I think he's a really good coach. But it's a what have you done for me lately type of sport. And if it's not, if it's not that standard that you're used to, then you've got the crazy fans who want him fired. So